Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. We got another Gun Gripe episode for you. This is a special episode. I'm here in Frankfort, Kentucky for the 2A rally. The Virginia rally video was a huge success, and you guys really like the kind of man-on-the-street thing where we just bring folks in and get a bit of an idea of how everybody's feeling and why they're here. So we're going to kind of continue that energy with this particular video. We want to know what you guys think. So this is Kentucky Speaks. We're going to get tons of folks in, see what they have to say, and let's just show solidarity for our rights. I see a bunch of awesome people here today just having a great time and showing support for the Second Amendment, and we think that's awesome. So let's start bringing in a couple of folks, and I want to hear what you guys think, all right? It's kind of cold and rainy. It's a little miserable, but the hearts are warm, and that's what matters, okay? So let's hear from some folks. All right, I've got a gentleman here who needs no introduction. This is Mr. Dick Heller, and he is here at this rally in Kentucky. You having a good day, Dick?
The name's Dude. Gun Dude. As in Bond, James Bond.
Such a joker.
Life has got to be fun.
So how do you feel about this whole movement that is sweeping the country, right? We've got stuff going on in Virginia. Obviously, that's very, kind of front and center in everybody's minds, and they're really, looking at that situation closely because of all of the horrible things that we're having to deal with in Virginia. Obviously, not as many people worried about Kentucky, but how do you feel about this movement that's kind of sweeping the nation right now?
Is that supposed to be an emotional reaction? No. I think it's an intellectual reaction. The momentum is on our side. The steamroller was against us before, but I think we're pushing things back. All this crap that's going on in Virginia, it will not stand. All right. Did you copy what I said about the New Jersey red flag law? Did you copy that?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Why don't you fill us in?
Well, what happened is a 13-year-old at school had told his buddy that the school security here sucks. So he told his buddy told his mother, 13 years old now, right? Mother told the school teacher about the security. Teacher told the principal, the principal told the local New Jersey State Police, and at 11 o'clock at night they went and knocked on Leonard's door. Okay, Leonard was at work, and they probably knew that. All right, so how egregious was this violation? First of all, it's a violation of the kid's First Amendment to not be harassed, exercising his freedom of speech. Okay, and he was actually helpful to them if they would have just been intelligent enough to listen as teachers. It's a violation of Second Amendment rights because that stands on its own merit. The Fourth Amendment, you have the right to be secure in your person, your house, your papers, and your stuff or your things. And there was, as I understand it, there was no warrant and there was no due process. So then comes Fifth Amendment. Why incriminate yourself by registering firearms and telling people what you have? All right. Then the Eighth Amendment, I consider that to be cruel, confiscatory punishment on its own. And then the Ninth Amendment says whenever the state violates all of those rights, you're not supposed to violate those rights. And when you do, the 10th Amendment says go back and review the Ninth Amendment. So what you have is 8 elements of the Bill of Rights, in my opinion, that appear to be violated just by knocking on the door for exercising your freedom of speech and trying to be helpful.
The thing that we really see is that this entire weaponizing of speech, that's a very harmful precedence to set. And I know red flag laws are a very scary way for them to achieve that, right? And my fear is that if red flag laws become the law of the land, let's say, especially at the federal level, okay, that can open the door to some really scary stuff. I mean, you're talking getting right back into the 10th Amendment thing and then going, sort of the back end way of taking guns away.
Well, Shaneen Allen, that was concealed carry, but it's along the same line, concealed carry. Everyone knows the story about Shaneen Allen, don't they?
fill us in on.
Okay.
Just so, you got a lot
Fill
of
you
people
in.
watching here.
I know you're going to edit this good. We're not live, correct?
No, we're not live.
Okay. Shanine Allen was traveling from her home in Pennsylvania to her job in Pennsylvania, and she happened to have to cross on the highway a sliver of New Jersey. So a state trooper comes up behind her. She moves out of the way, does a lane change without a turn signal. She gets pulled over. Cop sees her firearm. She shows the cop her concealed carry license. And I like to say, well, in New Jersey, power mad people, they don't like other out-of-state concealed carry licenses. So she spent 48 days in jail away from her babies, okay, as a single mom, before Governor Christie finally, because of the public outroar over it, finally pardoned her. That's what happens when you don't have constitutional level concealed carry. Okay, that and red flags and registrations. Well, registration is like violating your own, it's self-incriminating.
It is. You know, it's scary that it takes that public outcry for them to go, oh, okay, well, we're under the optics of all of this right now, so, oh, well, we should do something now. Well, being under pressure from the public eye, that shouldn't be the reason that you do something, right? It should be because you care about the will and the freedom of the people. So it sets forth a really, really scary type of precedence when people just clearly don't care about people's freedom. You know what I mean? When the government doesn't care about our freedom, and you know that firsthand.
Oh, absolutely. Freedom of speech, once they start, what's the phrase? I'm having brain freeze right now. What's the word you used for when you can't say certain things? Censorship. There's the other word for it. Oh crap! I'm brain locked right now.
That's okay. I'm guilty too. It's been a long day. I've been interviewing a lot of people, so my brain's malfunctioning too.
Speech police. That would be one phrase. Oh crap! I can't remember.
It literally is a thought police if you think about it, because they want to basically infringe so hard on you that they want you to, like you said, incriminate yourself. And they want, when speech becomes incriminating, gosh, I mean, then it becomes a thought police, literally like Minority Report or something. And then pre-crime.
The next thing comes, you can't talk about guns because you'll be shamed. And the one thing in my long speech I put in is that the State Department a few years ago floated an issue of you could not talk about gun repair on the internet. Do you remember that? Okay. And once you can't talk about a subject, then the subject, it's not visible anymore, and you start to lose that whatever it is, the right or a product or a market. Okay, so that's what suppression of speech is all about, First Amendment.
Well, they're literally trying to disenfranchise a lot of people by, not allowing that information to be out there. And we've seen that firsthand because we make reloading videos, gunsmithing videos, self-help, do-it-yourself type of videos in addition to, everything we do, right? So because of that, yes, when you remove that visibility, right, you are then disenfranchising an entire group of people who probably needed that information. Education is a huge paradigm that we see in the 2A community. If our youth can be properly educated, if they can have the facts, and especially if they can learn just cool things about guns and get an interest in firearms technology, then I think the left realizes that that's like 80% of the battle. It's just the interest. And if you make that information unobtainable, if you make it hard to get, if you make it non-visible, then you're really going out of your way to censor that in a way. It's literally just censorship.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
All right. Well, Dick, I really appreciate you chatting with us today, and thank you for being on Gun Gripes, and I appreciate everything that you've done for the Second Amendment community. You're like the Second Amendment Chuck Norris in my book.
You're too kind, sir.
Yeah, so when Chuck Norris gets up...
You're a much better speaker than I am, so you just keep doing what you're doing and more of it. And I was going to say, canceling your First Amendment right is done by demonetizing your websites. Have they ever done that?
A bit.
Really?
A bit.
Okay. Need to sue them.
Well, I know the man to talk to. Yeah. So, look, guys, it's something you need to know. when Chuck Norris gets up in the morning, he looks under his bed for Dick. Okay.
What a sense of humor. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Dick. All right, guys, I've got Mr. Thomas Massie here with me. This is a gentleman that needs no introduction, but we're going to get some of his thoughts here. This has been a great day, and I will say I follow you on social media, and I am so happy at the refreshing posts that you make all the time, because you really challenge the swamp and you ask the hard questions, and that's very refreshing, and I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you. It was great to be here today with so many supporters of the Second Amendment. I brought them good news and bad news. I brought them news about my positive legislation. By the way, my legislation is in the form of repeals. I want to repeal gun laws. I want to repeal the gun law that prevents 18, 19, and 20-year-olds from buying a handgun from an FFL. I mean, that's ridiculous. If you can go carry an M4 in Afghanistan when you're 18, 19, or 20, why should the federal government tell you you can't have a handgun to protect your family? Or maybe there's a spouse at home and one is serving overseas. It's ridiculous. So I've got a bill that would lower that age to 18. The other bill that I have would basically keep from making our children sitting ducks, because right now there's something called the Federal Gun-Free School Zone Act. It needs to be repealed because 95% of mass public shootings happen in a gun-free zone. Repeal the Gun-Free School Zone Act. Some of the states are doing it on their own within that school, and within the school. The problem is there's still a zone around the school where a law-abiding citizen could run afoul of federal law. It's ridiculous. We need to repeal that one too. And then I talked today some about the legislation that we're stopping, the Universal Gun Registry. Some people call it universal background checks, but we know it's a precursor to confiscation. And also the red flag laws. We've stopped those for now in Washington, D.C., but I'm worried after this impeachment sham is over, they're going to go back to gun control. They've been distracted by the impeachment sham. That's the only good thing that's come out of that. And so they lost their momentum on gun control. They're going to try and gain it back when they come back out of that and the president's exonerated.
Well, you're not lying about it being a sham either. It's more like a circus, I think, would be the more appropriate term. And it's funny that we talk about this age of buying a firearm, right? So the left is so guilty about saying, oh, well, you have to be this age, that age, right? But on the same other side of that coin, we should lower the voting age to 16, though. Okay, yeah. So the person's mind is his most important weapon, right? The physical weapons we have, our AR-15s, that's wonderful, right? But our mind has to be sharp first, right? So they want to say, a 16-year-old should be able to vote. They want an impressionable person at the age of 16 to be able to determine the fate of the free world, but yet all of a sudden, oh no, you need to be 21 to buy that evil gun over there.
That's right on point. In fact, that's why I called this bill the Safer Voter Act. It stands for Second Amendment for every registrable voter. In other words, if you're 18 and you can register to vote, then you should be able to exercise your Second Amendment. If you can choose the commander-in-chief, then surely you can choose your handgun. Because the more powerful thing is when you vote, frankly. And the liberals would love to lower the age to vote. I say let's just tie the age of adulthood, the age at which you can buy a gun, to the age at which you vote. And then, maybe the liberals can agree with me on that.
It is so crazy, the double standard that we have to deal with when we deal with our political opponents. The issue becomes, I feel, when we approach this double standard, is, all right, if the minute I say, all right, I'm a 2A sanctuary county, oh, that's such a horrible thing. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, but let's be a immigration sanctuary county. All of a sudden, it's God's gift to the free world that they're an immigration sanctuary. You know what I mean? And having, we're going to have an open door policy when it comes to bringing in all forms of immigrants, right? All they're trying to do is import voters, and they're trying to import people that they feel are going to be impressionable and that they're going to be able to get them to vote their way. That double standard is completely okay as long as it applies to them and what they want. But the minute you become a 2A sanctuary, oh no, you can't do that.
And I think it's important to make a distinction between the amnesty, the sanctuary they're trying to provide, the liberals are. That's an elitist point of view. It's not a grassroots movement.
It's not because they care.
Right. No, it's not because they care. They want to get reelected, and they see this as a loophole to do it. Whereas what you're saying in the Second Amendment sanctuary movement that's swept through Kentucky, that is a grassroots movement that's supported by the people and led and driven by the people, not the politicians who are trying to get an upper hand on citizens. So that's the big difference that I always make.
Yeah, and you know, our rights are not granted by men, and they shouldn't be regulated by men either. You know, our founding documents, our Bill of Rights, our Constitution, are the most perfectly written documents that men have ever written, as far as I'm concerned. So it's like, why does that need to be surrounded in confusion at all, right? It's pretty clear. You know, the language of the Second Amendment is pretty clear. Shall not be infringed. I mean, I don't understand how more concise that can get, right? And I view that as the ultimate grocery list of rights, right?
Yes.
When you make a grocery list, what's the most important things you can put at the top? Milk, bread, eggs. They knew that was the beans and butter and eggs of our rights.
Right. Well, I mean, the Second Amendment underpins all the other rights. And besides the Second Amendment, my favorite amendment to the Constitution is the Ninth Amendment, because it says this isn't the whole grocery list. You can have all the groceries. We're just listing some of the groceries here. That's what the Ninth Amendment is about. And so the Second Amendment and the Ninth Amendment are my favorite amendments for that purpose.
That's right.
So, well, good talking to you here today. It was exciting to have Dick Heller as my guest. We got him to come down from D.C. The guy's, you wouldn't know it, I think he's 78 years old, and he is still fighting for the Second Amendment.
And he is absolutely full of fire. He is such a great guy. I love that man. Thank you very much, Mr. Massie.
Thank you.
What's your name? Where are you from? Why are you here?
My name is Devin Matheson, and I'm from Minnesota, but I've been living here in Kentucky for about 3 years now. I'm here to support our Second Amendment rights, and I'm here with my assault rifle, just spreading the news that this rifle is actually more dangerous than an AR-15. Salt kills 2.3 million people every year. Salt causes your body to hold on to water, which increases your blood pressure, which causes heart disease. And heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States.
So you gotta watch that salt intake, guys.
Yes, you do. So this rifle right here is more dangerous than an AR-15.
That's clever. An assault rifle. I like it.
Exactly, that's right.
Hey, I appreciate you, man.
All right, thanks for having me.
My name is Michael Sammons. I'm from Grayson, Kentucky, and I'm here to support the Rally for Second Amendment. I'm a school teacher who teaches political science from time to time, and the Second Amendment is what backs up all the other amendments. So it's a very important amendment to have.
As a teacher, how do you really feel about the way students perceive our rights, particularly when it comes to the Second Amendment, right? It seems that a lot of the school systems, they tend to really devalue it and sometimes even demonize it. How do you approach it with your students, and how does the school system deal with that when you want to explain like the whole concepts of freedom to your students?
Well, the school system I teach in is a rural district with probably less than 1,000 total students. And because it's a rural district, it's very favorable toward the Second Amendment. As a matter of fact, our school board in the last meeting actually had authorized teachers with the proper training to be able to carry a school. Now, I don't know if it's going to come to that yet, but they're making progress in that direction. Plus, we now have a school resource officer that's fully armed, and it's just a scary time in this world, and students still have fears, and just trying to help solve those fears. But I think in my district it's pretty favorably viewed.
That's good. And like where we're from, I'm in Griffin, Georgia. I know we're in a different part of the country, but our school had a shotgun team and all of that sort of thing, and of course very favorable views of the Second Amendment and the teeth that it adds to our society, right? It keeps a free people free, and it's the teeth that protect every other right we have.
Absolutely. We have a 4-H shooting sports team that is very active in our school district as well. And it's the First Amendment gives you the right to speak up. The Second Amendment is what protects all those freedoms that can keep people from running over the first one.
Outstanding. Well, I appreciate your time. And thank you for being on Gun Gripes with me here.
All right, thank you.
I'm Clay Faulkner. I'm from Southern Indiana. I'm here to support Second Amendment, and because Carrie Sloan told me I had to be.
And you don't go against her wishes, right?
No, that would be scary.
That's right. Well, appreciate you making the drive. I flew in from Georgia. The Virginia rally was super successful, and I feel like a lot of people really resonated with that video we put together, so we wanted to continue the energy with this one. Now, I know we didn't have quite the turnout for this rally, but how do you feel about the turnout, and how do you feel about the people that are here compared to what you saw in Virginia?
I wasn't at Virginia. Of course, I've seen all the media on it. It's freezing cold, so I respect everybody that came out here. Everybody I've talked to has been fantastic. There's people from all over and all different types of people. It's great.
It seems that the ongoing kind of talk that people tend to have about the Second Amendment is that these states battles are super, super, super important. Now, this is a Friday, and I know a lot of people are at work, so it's a little bit less of a turnout than Virginia, obviously, but here in Kentucky, there is a Republican-controlled House and Senate, so there's a lot less fear of bad things happening, but we still have to stay on top of it, and it's important to kind of see where people's minds are at with this stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I think since Trump's been elected, the Second Amendment community's been asleep, and a lot of bad stuff's gone through because of that. So, I mean, sometimes when you have a Republican majority or a pro-gun majority, if you want to call them that,
Supposed to be.
That's my point. Yeah, then that's when people end up closing their eyes, and that's when stuff goes through. In my experience, my short time on this planet.
The thing is, you got to call it like you see it, right? I mean, everybody makes this to be a thing of party versus party, but I think it's really more about what someone says versus what they're actually going to do, right? We judge people by the content of what they do and their character, not by what they say they're going to do.
Absolutely, and self-defense and gun rights and all that should really be a nonpartisan issue. Everybody has the right to self-defense.
100%. Well, I appreciate you being on Gun Gripes with me.
Thank you. Take it easy.
My name is Sam Owens. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm here to support my Second Amendment right that most of my classmates want to take away from me.
How old are you?
I am 19. I just graduated high school last year. I'm planning on going to college around next semester, like next year. And it's just sickening to see that most of my classmates on social media are just constantly posting about like March for Our Lives and just taking away my God-given right.
Now, I'm going to ask a question here. Maybe you can, sort of expand on this a bit, right? Folks in your age group, and we're talking folks that are right out of high school, getting into college and everything. Do you think that the overwhelming majority, well, you sort of just answered it, but I'd like to think that an overwhelming majority of young folks are a little more liberty-minded than maybe, my generation? Does it seem that that's sort of a renaissance of thinking and thought that's changing with folks in your age range? Like, I guess they value personal liberty quite a bit, or do you think that maybe it's not so much?
I think they value personal liberty a lot, but only on certain issues. When it comes to guns, it really depends on how they're raised, and a lot of the people in my age range, especially going to an inner city school, a lot of them didn't grow up around firearms, so they don't necessarily know the real effects of like how to use one like properly, like how to take one apart, clean it. They don't know like the safety precautions that goes into owning one.
Sure. So really what it comes down to, it's really a cultural war. Okay, and what happens is by our culture not being well represented within the school systems. When I was growing up, we had school resource officers come in and teach gun classes and teach about safety and different action types. It wasn't like a gun class in terms of training you to shoot, but it was at least a, hey, this exists, hey, it's your right, and they expanded on the idea of it being a right and a fundamental right of our society. The cultural war that we're losing, right, you're literally representing that in what you're telling us, right? You're smart enough to see through the chaff and understand, hey, this is really, really important, right? To self-preservation is the most fundamental human right we have. That's smart of you to recognize that, but what you're saying is there's a lot of folks that are very pro-freedom and pro-liberty that are in your age group. I would dare I say borderline libertarian, right, in terms of the views, but they've kind of been disenfranchised of the Second Amendment.
Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of my whole generation. They don't really know much about any of the gun laws that are proposed, they just follow the group, and it seems to be that way on both sides.
Well, that's a very eye-opening type of perspective, and I appreciate you coming on Gun Gripes with me.
Thank you.
My name's Jacob Holston. I'm from Virginia Beach. I'm here to support the Second Amendment.
That's awesome. So what do you think about this group compared to, I know you may not have been at the Virginia rally, but I know you were? Yeah. Awesome.
I wanted to come see you, but the street was so packed, it didn't work out.
So what do you think about the energy of this rally versus Virginia?
I think it's awesome. Everyone's here is really nice. There's obviously not as many people here as there was in Richmond, but everyone's really cool. I haven't met a single rude person today.
Well, that's good to hear. So I know that there's probably a lot of people that view what's going on in Kentucky in terms of assault weapons bans, and let's talk about red flag laws. Those are things that are kind of getting pushed forward, even though it's a Republican-controlled House and Senate, everything like that. So people tend to think, oh, it'll never happen here. Right. But these states' fights are super important. Do you think that people are getting complacent, or do you think that it's the opposite?
Absolutely. You look here, there's definitely not as many people as there were in Richmond. I do believe people just don't think it can happen in Kentucky. It definitely can.
Yeah, these states' battles are super, super important, and it's important to not sit on the sidelines. So it's really refreshing to see people out here, not sitting on the sidelines. It's cold, it's rainy, it's miserable out here, but yet people are still here, and everyone's hearts are warm, and that's what's important.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
And I appreciate you being on Gripes.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric.
My name's Aaron. I go by Boogaloo Boner on Instagram. I'm from Virginia, Chesapeake. I'm here to help out Kentucky. A lot of people came out and helped us out in the Richmond rally. I want to do my part. Keep telling people, if we don't, who will? So.
It's important to do all of your neighboring states a solid, right? Lots of folks, that's a great point. Lots of folks came out and supported Virginia in their fight and showed that solidarity, right? And remember when we did the Virginia Speaks video, so many people in that video were from different states, right? So it's not just, you can't sit on the sideline and say, oh, well, it's not my state, so it doesn't matter. I think it's so cool that I'm talking to so many folks today as well that are here from other states because they want to show that solidarity for the Second Amendment community as a whole.
Absolutely. I think it's one thing I tell people about Richmond was, in my opinion, there were only two kinds of people there. There were patriots and tyrants. There were only people that were for us and people that were against us. It wasn't Virginians. It wasn't Texans. It wasn't anything like that. It was just Americans, and I thought that was amazing. And there were so many people from so many different states. It was just really, really encouraging, really inspiring, really. So here we are. We drove 10 hours easily all the way from Hampton Roads, and we're going to make the drive again in a few hours once we're done here doing what we need to do. So we're going to try to do Ohio, try to do North Carolina, try to do as many as we can and help out as best we can, because it's not just y'all's fight, it's everybody's fight, and it's America's fight. So
I agree completely, and we're going to be attending a lot more of the rallies as well. So I'm looking forward to go around and meeting patriots from all around the country. And I think it's really interesting you mentioned the patriots and tyrants thing. Well, what's crazy about it is the left wants to talk about, oh, no borders, right? No border wall, all of this and that. Them suckers threw up a wall quick around the Capitol, didn't they?
It's crazy how quickly they start believing in borders once they start feeling attacked or something. But hey, man, we're not here for violence. We're just here to show them who's in charge, remind them who's in charge. So.
Excellent point. Well, I appreciate you coming on Gripes with me.
Absolutely, man.
Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
My name is Wesley Gross. I'm from right outside of Virginia Beach, and I'm here to support the Second Amendment as we just did in Richmond. People showed up from across the country to support us, so it's all I can do to return a favor,
That seems to be a reoccurring theme. It's so funny how when you do right by other people, they turn around and do right by you. That seems like a very neighborly thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. We walked around with guys from Texas, Colorado. People literally came from all over the nation to support us in Richmond. So, this is the least we can do.
That's awesome, man. So how do you feel about this turnout? I know as a little bit less people showed up here. Does it seem that in Kentucky there's a little bit less concern about what's going on versus the deep concern that people expressed in Virginia?
Yeah, I'd say so. Between that and then, of course, the weather ain't exactly cooperating either. But I don't think they feel as threatened as we did in Virginia. But there are people here nonetheless. So give them credit for that.
That's right. Well, I appreciate you coming on Gripes.
Not a problem.
Love the shirt too.
Chris from Virginia Beach, here supporting the
residents of Kentucky because they came out, supported us in Richmond. Figured we show the same support for them.
That's awesome. And again, I don't want to sound like a broken clock or a broken whatever, but I'm just going to say that that's a reoccurring theme, that when you're neighborly to your neighboring states and you go and you show support, especially when that state is dealing with such crummy laws on the books that are potentially going to get pushed through, that is so cool that you guys come to show solidarity.
Yeah, we got to show them that, if you essentially have to start now and get ahead of it before you end up like us in Virginia.
100%. So overall, how do you feel about the way Virginia turned out? I'm just, since you were there, how do you feel?
I feel like we painted an amazing picture. Like the mainstream media portrayed us as extremists and everything else. And we were in the streets barbecuing hot dogs and listening to music, Hawaiian shirts, just here for the luau.
That's right. And the diversity, too, was what really impressed me. The media tried to spin that whole thing, and this, right? Even here, you haven't heard a word out of the media, especially the mainstream media, about what's going on here today. And you won't hear anything about a lot of the rallies because the only way they're going to report on it is if something really bad happens because they want to be able to spin it to support their agenda, right? They're not going to show the good sides of what happens when people show up and things are just going great and everybody's having a great time. They don't want to show that. They only want to spin it for some negative purpose. And I think that the mainstream media probably was a little bit pissed that they couldn't spin it in a negative way. That many guns in one place and that many people, and man, nobody got hurt.
And we were there. We cleaned up all the trash. We were walking the streets with trash bags, cleaning everything up. We left Richmond better than we found it.
I think that's a clear message that we can take out the trash in more than one way.
Damn right.
All right, appreciate you being on Grind.
My name is Leah Vagassi. I'm from not Wilmore. It's Nicholasville in Jessamine County, and I'm here to support my Second Amendment rights and also ask questions. One of my really, really big questions is Bevin wants to bring illegals to Kentucky. So that compiled with the gun grab that they're all in cahoots with, I want to ask, what is the illegal population that he's trying to import to Kentucky going to do to our votes, going to do to our safety, and going to do, how is that going to affect us with our gun rights and with our safety? And
it's certainly a legitimate concern, right? Because the thing is there is a legal process for how someone enters this country, right? There's an immigration process, and when a group, especially the government, wants to circumvent that process, you certainly have to ask yourself, okay, what's the ulterior motive here, right? And then when you combine that with gun confiscation, with assault weapons bans, with red flag laws, all right, what kind of picture are you really trying to paint here? And especially in a place like Kentucky that, when I flew in, I didn't exactly see like high rises. It's like a lot of rural land. There's hunters out here. There's people that want to be left alone. They're very, liberty minded. They just want to live like free people. So, yeah, that's certainly a concern. That's a valid question.
And not just that, with all the illegals that he's wanting to import to Kentucky, what's that going to do to our vote? How is that going to taint the vote? Is he going to do like New York and give illegals driver's licenses so they can show up at polling places and vote?
That's right. And that's a common tactic that they use on that side of the fence, right? They find ways to find the votes that they need. And if that means importing illegals, if it means, having much more lax voter ID laws, or they probably love to have no voter ID laws. And another thing that they like to do is they keep talking about, oh, well, we want to lower the voting age to 16. Yeah. Oh, well, let's raise the age to buy a gun to 21, but let's lower the voting age to 16.
Exactly. You're not even out of high school yet, but we're going to let you vote. That's pretty scary. Yeah, it really, really is. And I don't have a lot of faith in Bevin.
Well, this is a legitimate concern. So I think you're right on the money there. And it's important to look at it from a very pragmatic approach and think critically, right? You have to think about the deeper meanings for why things are happening and why they're being set up to happen the way they are. So it's literally a chessboard that's being set up to work against us. And like you said, it can't be in your favor.
Right. And I would just like to add one thing to that. Everybody out there who's watching this, don't allow them to browbeat you into censoring yourself by being afraid that they're going to take your video down or they're going to censor you on YouTube. They're already doing that. Don't censor yourself. Don't allow them to put you in the position that you feel like you have to keep your mouth shut in order to be seen and not heard. Don't do it. It's a trap.
You know, it's really refreshing that you mentioned that, because it's important to remember, too, that the whole shaming of our side, right? You know, you don't have to be like on either side of the political aisle to acknowledge the fact that self-preservation is a fundamental right that we all have, right? Everyone should be able to protect themselves no matter what they think politically. However, I hate to draw lines, but the left is very guilty of shaming people like us for believing what we believe, and they do that in an attempt to get you to shut up and not talk about it. But the problem is when you're shoved into this dark underbelly in society where you're not wanted, you're a redheaded stepchild that nobody wants to spend time with, and that's totally how it is. You become a silent majority, and what happens is they think, oh, we won, we shut them up. Election day comes, and that's what happened with Hillary, right? What did she call everybody? Deplorable. And she thought that she bought the election, and then all of a sudden, surprise.
Oh, I love the way she tried to bait Trump into saying, no matter how the election turns out, are you going to go with it? And here she is the one who can't go with it because she lost.
That's right. When you're pushed into a corner and you become that silent majority, and when people try to remove your ability or at least discourage your ability, they're not going to remove your ability, not yet, they're trying. But when they discourage that ability to speak your mind and to be on a level playing field with others, man, that creates a pretty considerable thing that they're not really prepared for the ramifications of that.
No, it's a bulldozer, and you started the engine, and we're fixing to roll come election time.
Good to hear. Well, thank you for coming on Gripes with me.
Thanks. Good to meet you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That was a good talk. How y'all gonna top that?
My name is Brad. I'm from Franklin County, and the reason why I'm here is I'm trying to bring light to this situation. We're all here trying to protect our Second Amendment rights, but it's not just about us here. It's about the whole country, and people, need to know that it doesn't just happen here. You need to be proactive in your other states that aren't, being infringed upon right now.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that there's lots of folks from out of state really, really doing, folks in Kentucky and a good solid, right? Like we mentioned earlier, there's a few other speakers we had that were mentioning, hey, they came out and supported us in Virginia, so we're going to do them a solid, go over there and support them. So that's great. Showing solidarity from state to state, even if it's not directly your fight in your state. If you're in a neighboring state and you can, drive over, why not drive over and support them?
Absolutely. I think the other thing is we have Second Amendment sanctuary counties here, but what about other states? Maybe like Michigan, where things are kind of teetering on the edge up there, or maybe even in Georgia, if they don't have that already. Places that aren't under threat, but very well could be. At the next election, we need to try and get to the polls and swing this fight around.
Absolutely, and it's funny you mentioned Georgia because I think 2 weeks ago Georgia just got its first Second Amendment sanctuary county. I don't know which county it is off the top of my head. You'll see a lower third down there, but anyway, and I've been talking to my local representatives and pushing the idea of trying to get more and more 2A sanctuary counties and really, make it a movement across the entire nation, to draw that line in the sand and go, look, we're not dealing with this. You guys, do your thing, but here we are, and we're not going to deal with it.
Absolutely. We the people, we need to remain free, and we need to tell the government that, we're not going to stand for this, and we're going to draw the line in the sand where it's at.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you being on Gripes.
Thanks, Eric.
My name's Garen. I'm from Monticello, Kentucky, and I'm here to show support for the Second Amendment.
It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you're here, and thanks for everything you do.
Awesome. So how do you feel about the turnout? I mean, have you been paying attention to what's going on in Virginia, and how do you feel?
I wish the turnout here was a little better, but with the weather, I guess it's still kind of good. Virginia, of course, had more, but of course they're more in fear than we are right now. Even though people here shouldn't get relaxed, 10 years ago, Virginia thought they was safe too. So
That's right. It's important that we recognize that, react to it, and as long as we keep that energy flowing and keep it going, I think we're going to be okay in the long run. We have got to show solidarity. We got to push back. When they push, we push back twice as hard.
Correct. From the local level on to federal.
That's right. Hey, appreciate you being on Great.
All right, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
My name's Nate Chapman. I'm from Danville, Kentucky. I'm here because, I feel like as, a young person, I feel like we should be able to express our rights because, a couple years from now, I'll be 18, so, I feel like, the people of the United States need to know that this country is going to be left up to us and that we need to be able to express the rights we have and take up for them.
That's the most refreshing thing I've heard all day. All right. I could not be more proud right now. It's important, right? A lot of the younger generation, it's not that they're not intelligent people. It's not that they don't love freedom, right? It's that they've just been taught the wrong things and they haven't been exposed to the necessary information that they need to understand what their rights are and why they're so, important, and especially the Second Amendment. I believe that gets put on the wayside, by a lot of schools and also a lot of young people that are just taught the wrong thing and they don't understand. It's not that, like we mentioned in previous gun gripes, I don't know if you might have saw a few of them where we talk about, someone who's anti-gun, they're either ignorant, evil, or insane. Right? Ignorance can be cured, right? Just because someone's ignorant and doesn't know doesn't make them a bad person. It just means that they don't know. So do you think a lot of folks in your age group are just ignorant?
Yeah, like a lot of people my age, they see how, because one of the big things right now is, you have all these Democrats and liberals and stuff, and they feel like they shouldn't be able to hurt people's feelings without, them getting upset. They feel like that's not okay to hurt someone's feelings. And so, in that way, they feel like it's not okay to express how they actually feel and their rights. And so, but, honestly, with me, I don't care, because, it's like, as a young person, I feel, you shouldn't care about hurting someone's feelings, and you just need to take up for your own rights. And because we have the Bill of Rights and the Constitution that says that our gun rights shouldn't be infringed, and so I feel like we need to keep on going with that. Because our founding fathers, they're smart men. They're not stupid at all. They knew what they were doing. They knew that where this country was going. That's what I think. So
And I think that one important talking point we could add to that, right, is that rights are rights. That's right. Right. So just because someone on our side of the aisle is like, hey, I'm super pro-gun, I want to, protect myself, protect my family, we also want that for everyone. Even if they're not pro-gun, we can change their mind and make them understand that protecting their liberty is super important. And we want that liberty for others, right? We want people to express how they feel, to have freedom of speech, to, not be persecuted for, religion, or all of those things, right, that go into our rights, search and seizure, property rights. All these things are a totality of rights that the Second Amendment protects. So when you can spin it that way, make people understand that it's there to protect you. It's not some oppressive thing where, this person with a gun is going to try to put you down for the way you live. It's to protect the way you live, no matter how you feel about it.
It's called the land of the free for a reason. Freedom isn't free. We have to fight for our rights and to keep our freedom.
Well, I appreciate that. And look, I'm proud of you, all right? So go to college, do your thing. And look, when you turn 18, you better be going buying a long gun now.
Oh, I will. I'll have one strapped on my side. Definitely.
All right, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
My name is Jonathan. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm here to show my support for the Second Amendment. I'm also to show that it isn't a thing about race, because I am originally Mexican. I'm born here in the States, but my parents are from Mexico. So I'm here to show that this right goes beyond race. It's not just about, it's for white people, it's for black people, it's for everyone, and I'm a little disappointed I don't see very many other Latinos out here. So if there's any Latino viewers watching, tienen que salir aquí y enseñar que también soportan las armas, porque ese no es un derecho que es para los güeros, es para los americanos que ustedes quieren decir, es para todos. So this right is for everyone. It goes beyond. I don't care if you're black, white, blue, green, purple. You have this right. It's something that isn't, it predates the piece of paper that is our Constitution. It's something that you are born with. You have that right to defend yourself. So I'm here to show support for that.
That's right. Men don't give it to you, and they can't take it away. You're born with it.
Yes, sir. I completely agree with that.
Awesome. That is such a refreshing perspective, and we love to hear it. And it's just super important for people to know that the Second Amendment, and when we look at, self-preservation, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all that good stuff, it transcends political boundaries. It transcends every single boundary because it's something that exists in everybody. You're born with it. It's yours. You just have to reach out and take advantage of it, use it, embrace it.
Yes, sir. I completely agree. And, I honestly also wanted to meet you as well because I'm not a political person. I don't really have too many political leanings. Like I said, I don't care what race you are, what color you are, what you believe, don't believe, if you believe in God or not. I don't care about your political views. The only thing that matters to me is this right, because this right guarantees our right to think differently, to have those beliefs. If you believe in gay marriage, this right guarantees that. If you believe that, heck, if you don't believe in God, this right guarantees your right to speak on that, or to express that opinion openly, and people don't understand that. And personally, no one taught me this. I grew up in a Mexican family. Guns were never allowed in my family. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. Guns were never in my household. No one ever taught me to love guns. And growing up, I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, so growing up, I never knew that we were even really allowed to have guns. I never knew how gun-friendly my state was because of how the media would always portray guns, whether it's in the news, movies, music, everything, video games. Guns have always been portrayed as something as inherently evil. So because of that, I never grew up with guns in the household. And thankfully, growing up in this state allowed me to have that, privilege to see both sides because of being from Chicago. So I got to see it from their side, their point of view, and growing up now in the South, I got to see it from the South's point of view as well. So I'm very thankful for that. And I'm just a patriot. I'm no one special. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm some bad. I don't know if I can cuss on here. So if I'm some, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm, like a Green Beret or I served in the military. I didn't. My brother did. He was in the Marine Corps. But I'm not gonna pretend. I'm just a regular person. I'm just here, and I love this country. I love America. I'm American first and Mexican second, and I'm proud to say that. And I just love this country. I'm a patriot.
I really appreciate that. And also, I think a really important thing to look at all of this in the light of, too, is that it teaches you, like, the way your perspective sort of forces you, right, to be a critical thinker. And I think that's something that's missing in our society, and it's not embraced as much in our society, is the whole critical thinking skill, right? Being able to think for yourself, make your own decisions, do your own research, and come up with, to you, if something is important to you or not, right? If the Second Amendment is something you think you need, well, you do need it. You just don't know you need it, but it's important that people think critically and question everything. I'm not saying like I'm super far down the level being like a weirdo, conspiracy theorist. Right. But conspiracies, right? All right. So when you look at that, really all a conspiracy is something that everybody is already thinking about and just nobody's proved yet.
I'm just going to say that Epstein didn't kill himself. Put your tinfoil hats on, guys. We all know it. Let's just put it out there. I agree, though. I agree. It is important to be a critical thinker. And, I didn't have an easy life. Like I said, I'm just a regular person. But I'm also not going to say that I had an easy life. But for that, I'm thankful because of how I grew up. It, as you said, it forced me to be a critical thinker. It forced me to question everything. I grew up originally Catholic, and not to get into religion, but I grew up Catholic. My family was Catholic. And I just remember, because of how I grew up as a Catholic, it forced me to think critically and question the Catholic Church. And as of now, I don't align to any religion or church per se. But, at the same time, like I said, I respect everybody else's right. If you want to be Catholic, you can practice Catholicism. If you're Christian, my brother, who I mentioned, was in the Marine Corps, he's Christian. He's recently changed from Catholicism to Christianity, and I respect that. I respect people's religion. I don't care what your religion is. The only thing that matters to me is this right. Don't touch my guns.
100%. And I feel that a lot of people undervalue the concepts that our country was founded under. We escaped religious persecution. That was originally why we came here. We were tired of being told what to believe, what to say, and that was a huge thing, right? Our founding fathers recognize the importance, okay, of being able to say what's on your mind, being able to, worship what you want or don't. So I think it is important to acknowledge that fact that the Second Amendment literally is the teeth that protect every other thing. What's to stop somebody from, you look at other countries in the world and they persecute people because of this and because of that. We literally founded this country to escape that persecution. So that's a very refreshing way to look at that.
Right, and I completely agree. And just going on that, I'd just like to say that you're right, that this right to keep and bear arms, it's the teeth to protect every other right to believe what you want to believe, to say what you want to believe, or to say what you believe. And that one thing, I'm not religious, but my Bible is actually the Constitution. I have right here in my bag, I have a pocket Constitution that I always carry.
It's a perfect document.
Yes, exactly. I always carry that with me everywhere. That's my Bible, and it's because I understand, and that's why I'm so proud of being from this country, because I understand that our forefathers, and it does bring a tear to my eye whenever I think about it, because they fully understood. One thing that I firmly believe and will always believe is that without liberty, there can be no life. A life not lived free is a life not lived at all. And this right that we have, it protects our right to live freely. And if you are not living free, you're a slave. And if you're a slave, you are not living at all.
Food for thought, people. Well, I appreciate you being on Gripes with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Eric. It was a very, very great honor to meet you.
Appreciate it.
My name is Joe Baxter. I'm from Rabbit Hash, Kentucky, and I am here to protect our Second Amendment, or at least I'm trying. So,
that's right. Well, you look like you're prepared for that task.
Absolutely. I am in what some people would call a militia group, but I don't call it a militia group. We're in a prepper group. And I believe that everyone that believes in the Second Amendment should at least get some kind of training. That way they can be prepared, or at least a little bit ready for the upcoming of what could possibly become an outcome.
There's certainly an importance in knowing your community and knowing the people around you. I mean, even if it's just as simple as, you and 15 or 20 of your neighbors that you know really well that live in the same area as you, and having a plan, right? A disaster can be a wide variety of different things. It can be man-made, of course, but there's also natural disasters that can occur. And with that, unfortunately brings out the most unpleasant side of humanity, right? People loot and they steal and they do stupid things and they burn cars and trash their city. I mean, especially in the big rural areas that we've seen, like Ferguson and all. So yeah, I can agree with that. It's very important for patriots to show solidarity with each other and with their local communities, so that if there is something bad goes on, you're prepared to deal with it and hit it head on and survive.
Absolutely. And one thing to keep in mind is, for simplicity, is 90 days of food. Get you a plate carrier and walk with it at least a mile a day. That way you can get used to it. And just be ready, do target practice, do push-ups, sit-ups, everything you can. I mean, I'm a big dude, but I do it every day. I mean, it's the only way to stay fit and I've been wearing this all day since 8 this morning. And
not phasing you?
Not winded at all. I'm just so used to it. I do it every day.
Awesome. Hey, I appreciate you being on Gripes with me.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting you, Eric.
Have a good one.
You too.
My name is Ben Leneve. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, about 45 minutes from here. And I'm here to stand with the Second Amendment with everybody in Kentucky, in Virginia, and across the nation who doesn't want to see our rights, slowly chipped away.
I think that's a pretty important kind of echoing statement that's happening today. Everybody's here showing solidarity, and there's also folks from all over the country, right? Not just this state we're in, There's folks that came from Virginia because, they really appreciate the support they got from other states. So you think that it's important for us to share these fights from state to state? Like if you're a state or two over and you've got time and you can drive over, probably important to go support the folks around you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wish I would have made it to Virginia on past Monday, but I had logistics issues. But I definitely met a good friend who's up in Ohio, going to try to join him in May at a rally up there. And I'd like to try to support people in neighboring states also. But I think kind of related to what the last guy was mentioning for a moment, I think it's important, obviously, our Second Amendment is our ultimate right to protect our other rights and to protect ourselves and our freedoms. But I think that, these gatherings, in Kentucky, we're not under threat right now of any of these laws passing. That's like a very, very slim, unlikely chance. But it could happen down the road. We're here to for the solidarity, and here to I think the more that we organize as a community nationwide, the more that we have a united, peaceful but firm and uncompromising message. Ultimately, hopefully, we can avoid any kind of conflict.
I think it's pretty clear also that there's certainly some unintended consequences that the opposition to gun rights and the anti-gunners, they sort of wind up making this happen and they don't realize it. But the unintended consequences by going, yeah, we're going to ban guns, we're going to do this, we're going to come out with this red flag law, we're going to do all of these things, right? What they don't realize that they do is it riles people up and gets them going, and they awake sort of a sleeping beast, right?
Yeah.
Not that we're terrible or anything, but it's just
woke up in the first place.
That's right. I mean, the Japanese, they knew when they bombed Pearl Harbor, they knew that they kicked a hornet's nest, and that's what the antis are doing. They're kicking a hornet's nest.
Yeah, and you mess with the bull, you get the horns.
That's right. Hey, I appreciate you coming on Gripes with me.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Eric.
Here today.
My name's Brandon Hughes, and I'm from Powell County, and I'm here to show that Powell County is not going to stand up for what the government is trying to do against their Second Amendment rights. And the three things that people in Kentucky love is their family, their guns, and their religion. And if you take any one of them away, you got a fight on your hand.
That's right. Yeah, I love the coonskin cap. You got the musket going on. So did you have some possum pie this morning or last night?
No, believe it or not, possum's not real good.
It's not? No. So you've had it?
Well, I've never had it, but I've heard that my grandma, she didn't like it.
Okay, well, it's all in the preparation. It's how good you cook it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's all in the cooking of it. I mean, the older women, they know how to cook. And you come to my part of the state, everybody knows how to cook, and they know how to hunt. And guns are just second nature. It's like going to the bathroom. You know how to just like everybody else. You know how to pull a trigger in Powell County, just the same.
That's right. It's important, and we've seen varying amounts of perspective in this video, right? Folks that weren't raised around guns, folks that were. So the cultural war, and I always mention it is a cultural thing, right? Kentucky is a state of gun owners, and I think it's quite clear that we aren't going to put up with it here in Kentucky. Nope. And I think it's important that we show our solidarity, and we're definitely doing that.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I wish more people would come out here today. I mean, there's not as many people as I'd like to have seen, and more people, it just makes me mad that people don't really get into politics like they should, like the left does. The left spends more money on politics than we ever did, and we need to change that.
That's right. And I think, too, that they have to fight a heck of a lot harder and spend a lot more money to accomplish what we would, I suppose, perceive as being more.
Oh, yeah.
But really, though, I think that the grassroots level, like getting the word out just from peer to peer and person to person, and using social media as a really powerful tool to put the word out, and then just getting people involved at a grassroots level like we're doing literally right now, I think that has a lot more value than you might think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if people would just spend the time and come out here and just see what they're talking about, I mean, more people would get involved with it. I mean, heck, this is normal weather for Kentucky, and people were scared of rain for crying out loud. I mean, it's crazy. And I got a black powder rifle, and I'm not afraid of the weather. I mean...
This man ain't afraid of the weather, y'all.
Oh, shoot, no. Whenever they take my AR... This is what I'm going to have left, and that's all I need. I have one shot, and then I'll have a club to hit them over the head with. That's all.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm going to stick to my scar.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And look, I'll throw you one too. Okay? That way you guys won't.
I appreciate it.
We're not going to deal with that. We're going to put you in more than a single shot.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right, man. Hey, I appreciate you.
All right. It's nice meeting you, Eric.
All right.
John McCann. I'm from right here in Frankfort, so short drive, but I can thank you for letting me know that it was going on. And I did a search, couldn't even find any information hardly about it going on, only past rallies. So without you, I wouldn't even known to have been here.
It's really important that we put the word out. We have our text service now. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. You'll see the details. I think it's you text 1776 to, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but you'll see it here on the screen. Chad will put it in there. But we do have our mass texting service now, and I think at the time this video is being cut, we've got about 2,500 people on that text thread. We've only had the video out 3 days, and we're already up to 2,500 people on the text thread. we're not going to spam you, but sign up for our text thread, and anytime there's a rally, it's not necessarily just your area, it's nationwide. We'll send that information out, and that way you can make sure you're up to date on all the rallies that are going on, meet and greets, rallies, anything going on within the 2A community that we feel is important, we'll push that out to you.
My name is Daniel Bombach. I'm here to support the Second Amendment. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, and I'm just here to support the Second Amendment and the brotherhood and sisterhood, and just here to support America. We don't want these tyrannical laws passed, and we just want to keep America free. That's why I'm here, brother.
100%. I don't think it can get more simpler than that. The only thing is, I have to bring a bigger camera to get you in the frame, Now I don't have my super expert camera crew. I'm just running this thing all solo. So, I think it'll work though. You running your SCAR?
Yeah, I brought the 16 out. I just threw it on. I got my secondary body armor right here. It's just a little cheap one, but yeah, it's just not.
Heck yeah, man! I love the SCAR. It's one of my favorite.
I know you do, brother. You're one of the reasons I got 2 of them, and you're one of the reasons I bought them, man. Watching you, Eric.
So you got the 16, right?
I got the 16 and the 17. Yep.
Oh, you got the 16-inch 17.
Oh yeah, I got the 16 and 17. I don't have the 20 inch, the new one. I don't have that.
Now I know this is about the rally, but we're going to talk about guns for a second. Now look, that SCAR 20 is an awesome rifle.
I know, brother. I've watched your stuff on it, man, and I think that's one of my next purchases.
Yep.
Is the 20.
It's a good 800-yard gun. Like getting out, I did take it out to $1,000. It's like shooting it at 1,000's a little hectic because it's a lot of dope to get out to 1,000 with an autoloader, but like 600, 800, it's like spot on.
Yeah, I can't wait to shoot that far. I haven't shot that far yet, Eric.
Heck yeah, man.
I want you to come down, man, and shoot what you guys.
Hey, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming out and showing solidarity for gun owners.
For sure, brother. And I wanted to tell you, Eric, man. You and a select handful of guys, man. You guys are some of the most important men in America right now, with the gun channels like Tim, Coleon Noir, Mr. Guns and Gear, you and Chad, you guys are some of the most important men in America, man. And we need you guys, you guys are changing a lot of hearts when it comes, I both my parents are liberal, brother. And not to brag, but I own machine guns, I have my own company and everything. So I own machine guns, and both my parents are liberal. I like to crack that joke, but nothing was passed down to me. I got my collection on my own, and I support the Second Amendment on my own, and I'm trying to change my parents, heart, and the rest of my family. I'm like the only guy in my family that's pro-gun. Oh, people are pro-gun, but the media lies a lot. So the media paints stuff the way it shouldn't be painted and the way it isn't. So, and that's a problem we have today. But I don't want to take up all your time, Eric.
You're not taking up my time at all. Look, it's important, too, that you mentioned that about the media. The media, because they can't use facts to get what they want, they have to create their own facts out of thin air. And they have to create their own reality.
They got to make stuff up, Eric.
And it's a shame that the media, and in terms of, especially when you look at how things are reported, the media and the news used to be about the facts.
Yep.
Like, let's gather the facts and let's be objective and let's put it out there and let people, come to whatever conclusion they want.
Yep.
Now, the media is a giant political machine that tries to change people's opinion by lying and coming up with all this fake crap.
Propaganda.
And it is propaganda.
Propaganda, brother. Elementary school stuff, man. Propaganda. We learned that in elementary school. So yeah, thanks, Eric, man. It's great to meet you, brother.
I appreciate you being here.
See you again, brother.
All right.
Thank you, Eric. Much love, brother. Keep doing what you're doing.
All right, now. Next time you gotta give me some phone books to stand on, right? What's your name, where you're from, and why are you here today? And also, you brought the biggest rifle out of anybody.
My name is Victoria. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm here because I'm tired of what they're pushing to, get rid of our Second Amendment rights. I'm here because all gun laws are infringements. That's why I'm here.
Well, that's refreshing. Actually, in this particular group of people, it's commonplace, right, in terms of how we look at this. You run your SCAR today.
Yeah, that's right.
You like the SCAR, huh?
I do like the SCAR. Yeah, it's a fun gun to shoot.
Wearing your Alpenflage, your Swiss Alpenflage?
Oh, yeah.
So, this is probably a good question to ask you. We've had a lot of perspective here today, and I know you probably heard Carrie speak earlier. Were you here earlier today when she went on about 9:30?
I actually wasn't.
Okay, you weren't.
I got here about in time to catch Massie.
Okay, cool. One thing I want to sort of ask or mention, or maybe you can just expand on this a bit. the female paradigm shift when it comes to the Second Amendment, right? It's super, super important that ladies protect themselves. I know that it's a right that's fundamentally like everyone's, but do you think that there's this huge sort of renaissance of new gun owners that are females that are looking like protect the flock, so to speak?
I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see that trend. I can't personally speak on whether it's happening or not. I don't personally know many female gun owners. I'm the only one that a lot of my friends know. So I haven't seen a huge uptick yet, but I think more and more women are starting to realize it's a good idea to be armed. Especially, I think it's ironic how some of the more feminist types don't seem to want to arm themselves, and then they complain about the patriarchy and all this, unfair power. And the easiest way to take the power back is to just pick up a rifle.
And it's so crazy, and you're so correct there. People look at this thing, I'm being infringed on, or, I believe this, and I think you should believe this. Well, if you're so upset about it, why not, like you said, pick up a rifle? I'm not saying do something about it or cause trouble, but what better way to protect the way you think and the way you live than to arm yourself? And I think that the common misconception that people have is that the Second Amendment is only for this side or for that side, or that, the media spins the lie that if you own a gun, you're crazy and you want to overthrow this person, that person. But I think the more factual aspect of it is that the Second Amendment simply is just the teeth of freedom. No matter what your version of freedom happens to be, it's still there for you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the main reason I own firearms is just to protect myself from people that want to hurt me. And I don't see how... I think it's evil to criminalize that. It's just evil to tell someone that they can't defend themselves from harm.
Well, not only tell someone that they can't defend themselves from being hurt, but also perpetuate sort of the idea that people shouldn't protect themselves. All right, I guess the whole mainstream media, social media sort of 1A war, right, that's happening in terms of criminalizing even the idea of just being a gun owner, right? All these times that the media, calls us names and says all these derogatory, negative things about us in an attempt to change culture, right? So I think it's important for people to, stand by the Second Amendment and stand by their values and their principles and be the change they want to see, right? We're all ambassadors to the shooting community. So if you wind up talking to other people, whether it's coworkers or anybody you run into, it's important to be, out there and say, yes, I'm a gun owner and this is why, and change people's minds with facts and with logic. And I think most people generally kind of get it at that point.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Hey, I appreciate you being on Gripes with me.
Yeah, thanks. Great talking.
My name is Nick. I'm originally from Belarus. I've been in the States for 12 years now, and I'm here to support the gun rights movement. I come actually from a very restrictive, gun culture. I've been in the States for quite a while, and I got into guns pretty early on when I was still a youngster. And I'm one of those millennials who are very, very pro-gun, actually. So I'm against all types of restrictions, be it federal, state, whatever. I always say that basically, guns is going to be our last line of defense. If something hits the fan, we are the last ones who is going to be, there to fight it.
I think that a lot of people tend to really undervalue when folks come from a very oppressive area, especially when it comes to gun rights and gun ownership and the idea of that and the culture of gun ownership, right?
Yes.
When people grow up here, they tend to take it for granted if they're not exposed to it and they're not taught about it. And of course they're not taught about it because the schools, they're not going to go out of their way to make sure people understand liberty in that sense. I think people really undervalue it. And they don't understand how bad it can be in other places and how lucky we are to have what we have.
And I would agree here because when I came to the States, I was really surprised by how much ignorance around guns there is amongst my kind of people, my generation. You would think, in a country that has near 500 million of guns right now, there would be more people involved. But I come from a country that is really oppressive in that way. And to me, I kind of hold these things dear to myself. I'm like, we don't have a Second Amendment where I'm from. If they want to take your guns, they know where they are, they know what they are, and they'll take them from you. If they tell you just, give up your gun, everybody will give up their gun. Because the government knows everything is registered where I'm from.
So it's safe to say, now, this is a rhetorical question. I know the answer, and y'all know the answer. He knows the answer, but I'm just going to say it anyway, is that when a government wants a registry, when they want, all of these, especially a registry, it's only so that they can take guns away. When they get around to it, when they get, enough names on the registry, or when they just decide, one day we just decide we want to do it, then they come and take them. So registries are a terrible idea. They're very infringing on your privacy, and not to mention constitutional rights. I'll mention briefly Canada's long gun registry. Okay, yes. So Canada, there for a while, they had an experiment where they were trying to have a long gun registry, and it wound up being so expensive for them to maintain and to take on that they just decided, the benefits of having a registry are so minuscule compared to the crazy cost of implementing it and maintaining it, and we're just going to do away with the long gun registry.
Yeah, and I would add to this, to be honest, I'm very connected to Russian gun community because my wife is Russian. I've been to Russia, I lived there. And to me, registration, it's so pointless. If you are a law-abiding citizen, if you want to get a gun, why register it? There is no point in that. If somebody wants to do bad things, registration won't stop it. It will never stop them. And a very good example of that, there was a very unfortunate case of things. It was in Kerch, Russia, where a guy actually came out to college and killed a bunch of people. He was 18. He went through the whole process, and it takes a good month in Russia to get yourself a gun. He got a shotgun, and he was still able to do this whole massacre going through the whole legal system. So realistically, gun registration will oppress the law-abiding citizens. It will never stop anybody from committing heinous acts. Never. And you don't need a gun to do one, to be honest.
And it's certainly going to put a damper on the good people out there that want to own a firearm, more than it's going to, stop the bad people that could possibly do something wrong. I mean, and the thing is, too, a bad guy that wants to commit a crime or do something terrible, right, they're going to use whatever means that they have to their disposal. And even if they do want to use, let's say, a firearm, it's not like there's tons of firearms out there that they can't, especially in Russia. I'm sure that there's tons of black market stuff that, you're talking probably machine guns. You can just go and buy a machine gun on the black market over there.
And you I guess you can. Now, I'm not very much in the know how you can get one, I guess, but the thing is...
Of course not.
But the thing is, there are movements over here with people like 3D printing receivers right now, even making their own barrels. Of course, whoever wants to do something, they can get their hands on a gun. They can make themselves a gun. And there has been plenty of examples around the world that if you want to make it, you can make it, you will make it. And the only people that will suffer after this are going to be the actual law-abiding citizens. Everything will be blamed on us, first of all. Blame the gun, then we'll see about anybody else.
Well, I think what you said earlier really makes the most sense, right? Is that if guns really were the problem in our country specifically, okay, there'd be blood running down the street. There'd be the streets would be littered with bodies, right? But it's just not the case, right? You don't see all of this horrible crime that the media wants to perpetuate is happening, right? And then especially when you look at, let's just say, crimes that are committed with a firearm. Rifles, right, make up an extremely minuscule amount.
To be honest, if you look at the whole population and all gun deaths, you can basically combine everything, including suicides. You're still getting 0.01%.
Not enough to matter.
We have people dying from other things on way bigger scales every single year, and all of a sudden people are telling us that guns are an emergency. No, they're not.
It's so low on the totem pole that it's almost not even worth talking about. But they always want to paint the picture of, we're gonna go after the thing that we feel from a standpoint of just looking scary, right? That, they think, it looks scary, so we're going to just go after that.
And the problem is it is always like this, and I think it's everywhere, to be honest. America is not exactly the only example of this, where just because the gun looks a certain way, it's all of a sudden becomes an assault weapon, a scary black rifle or whatever, and realistically, that's not the case, obviously. And, when people are talking about, we have to ban AR-15s, well, okay, but I mean, AR is kind of a mediocre caliber. It's effective for what it is, but we have so many other things available on the market, and AR is just like some sort of crazy moniker that became a mantra for Democrats to just push and that's a scary black rifle. It's like, a weapon of war. Well, 1911 is a weapon of war more than an AR-15 probably.
Well, and the thing is, too, it's such a common use gun. That's the argument I always like to make. There are so many of those rifles in private hands, and guess what? They don't jump out of somebody's safe and go do some crazy crap, right? They just paint the picture that they want to paint. The media used to be about, gathering facts and being objective and just looking at things from a factual standpoint. Now it's all about, what type of agenda can we push? What can we do? And sadly, that's what we deal with.
Objectivity has been thrown out of the window a long time ago. I moved in here to the States when Obama got elected, so I kind of went through his whole presidency, and I kind of noticed that what was 10 years ago, for example, compared to what is now, it's so radically changed, and not for the better, especially for Democrats, that I'm kind of scared sometimes, what the future holds for us. I guess we just gotta keep pushing, and keep standing together with all the gun owners, no matter whether you like ARs, you don't like ARs, whatever your preferences are, we're all gun owners at the end, and we all should stand for the Second Amendment, and we should always be against all governmental restrictions, no matter what they are. How we can't trade rights, and we cannot compromise. We've been compromising since 1934, and it's nothing but a problem, and has things become worse since then in terms of gun deaths, problems with guns? No. I mean, lately, like I said, it's been nearly 500 million guns in the country, around that number right now. If we were the problem, you'd know it.
Spoken like a true American. I appreciate that. Hey, I appreciate you coming on Gripes.
Thank you.
My name is Brett Ashley. I'm from just up the road in Louisville, and I'm here to support the Second Amendment and advocate for the repealing of all firearms laws that's ever been placed.
Well, I think we would all love to see that.
I think we would all love to see that. I would love to put that short barrel on the Uzi and make a little fun switch and have a grand old time.
That's right. And, the way that I approach suppressors, silencers, is that I think they're a valuable tool for, protecting your hearing, right? The mainstream media and the people that have this horrible agenda against us, they perpetuate all these Hollywood myths. It's, only an assassin wants a suppressor. It's such a load of crap. Every single person that I've dealt with that has shot something suppressed, and full auto especially.
Oh yeah, gotta
they all of a sudden, if they're a gun owner and then they shoot a machine gun, especially one with a suppressor on it, all of a sudden you become like gun owner level 3 or 4. Like you kind of go up a few notches.
Yeah, it's like I got a couple of my buddies that we have suppressors, and whenever we go hunting, they always let me use their suppressed guns because I always hunt with. I actually used to hunt with my Mosin. Is what I used to hunt with because it does the job. But last time we went out, they let me hunt with a suppressed Remington 700, and I mean, you still got to use ear pro because it's still pretty damn loud, but I mean, it's so much better. You're not sending animals running everywhere. And I mean, honestly, for like a practical application, makes no sense why that's an NFA thing. I mean, you're losing 10, 15 decibels and it's not like if somebody was over there about 100 yards and shot a suppressed weapon, we wouldn't hear it. We'd all hear them do it.
Yeah. You still get the crack of the round. There's a supersonic crack. My thing is the whole shotgun and rifle barrel lengths. That's what gets me. That drives me insane. The whole idea of this whole rigmarole that we're dealing with a pistol versus an SBR or, the whole brace thing. I mean, it all kind of becomes a moot point, doesn't it? Yeah. If you can go buy a pistol and have whatever barrel length you want, well, then why is the NFA even a thing? Why even have registered short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns? Why does the barrel length even matter, right? I mean, why is it even relevant?
I don't get it because, a couple months ago, I picked up a Model A Uzi, an IMI import, and it's got the factory 16-inch barrel on it and the folding metal stock, and it looks really stupid. And it's like the barrels are $100, but if I put it on it, it's a felony. But it's what's the difference? I mean, if I were to take a little hacksaw and cut the stock a little bit, it would be a brace. So what differentiates it between a pistol and a, like, there's so many like loopholes and stuff. Like, what's the point anyway?
They want it to be purposely misleading and confusing because they want to turn somebody into a felon with the stroke of a pen. That's the kind of stuff that we're here to fight, right? We want to see these horrible laws repealed, and we want to see them go away. Look, I would love nothing more than to see the NFA disappear, right? To have no registry, to have, suppressors off the registry, to do away with the registry, and to have nationwide constitutional carry. You know what I mean? That would be great. No, permitless carry would be great. We would all love to see this. We have to chip away at it as much as we can. So I appreciate you being a part of that.
Thank you.
All right, guys, it's been a long day. We've been interviewing a lot of people, and I really appreciate all of you who came and talked to me here at the rally, and those of you who made the trip to come out here. It's really, really important that we show solidarity, that we're there for each other, that each state's battle is our battle. It doesn't matter if it's somebody in Washington State and I'm in Georgia. Guess what? That's my battle. All right, because that's my country. We're all each other's countrymen here, and we have to come together and show solidarity. And I believe that we're doing that. After all the folks that I've talked to and just kind of getting a feel for, what's going through people's minds, what they have going on, it just really seems that there's an overwhelming majority of people that are just wanting to show solidarity for the Second Amendment across the board. So we're really seeing that. I was real happy with the way the Virginia video came together. This one I'm sure is going to be just fine. So really, thank you guys for supporting our efforts. Those of you who purchase man cans, t-shirts on the website, those of you who donate on Patreon, thank you for being a part of what we do and allowing me to come out and take on these types of events. Hopefully Chad's going to get to feeling better. He's got the flu, but you know what? He'll get over it and life's going to go on. But we'll have this video out soon. Hopefully I can get him over the crud and he can get this put together. But thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. And we have many more videos on the way, and we'll see you soon.